All right. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, CADA members. Great to see everybody here. Hello. Happy Monday. We're almost at the start of school. My name is Ron Ippolito. I am the president-elect for CADA, the California Association of Directors of Activities. My co-host for the evening is Allison Gadik. Allison is the president of the organization. Allison, how are you doing this evening?
Ron, I am doing fantastic. I am fired up and ready for an exciting school year. After that camp experience a couple weeks ago, I am ready to go.
Right on, right on.
I'm really excited about tonight's conversation because I feel like this is really going to inform our instruction, and I'm so grateful to our sponsors who are here tonight to answer our questions because this is their area of expertise, and we're so excited to have them.
Well, I'm excited to have our sponsors. I'm excited to have everybody here tonight. Hey, real quick, if you can, before we get started, we're going to jump in and introduce our presenters, our speakers for the evening. But first, if you can, turn your camera on because we want to do a little shout out. We want to do a little roll call here. We're at 84 participants right now. Probably hit a few more before there we go. All right, so you don't need to unmute yourself, but turn your camera on and kind of wave your arms if you are in area A. Where are my area A people at? Area A, all right, I see you. There we go. All right, how about area B? Bay Area, where are you at, area B? Look at you, I see you, Mike White, Jen, Derek Padilla. Hello, Jessica, good evening. All right, area C, Central Valley, right on. We got some, oh, there's Zach representing proudly there. All right, how about area D, Central Coast? Hurtados, Kathy, Laurel, welcome. Okay, how about area E, Los Angeles County, loud and proud. There we go. Right on. Hey, there's Liz Anderson from Quartz Hill. Welcome, Liz. All right, and how about area F? Orange, San Bernardino, Riverside counties. There are area F folks. Janelle, I see you there. Jordan, welcome. All right, and then how about area G? San Diego and Imperial counties. Judy, hello. Bonnie, there's Bonnie, area G coordinator. Good to see you, Bonnie. Okay, and then finally, area H are people from out of state. Right on, I see Leanne from Washington. I've got Sandy Ginger from Nevada, Kristen, and welcome to all of our area pieces. Oh, there's Leilani, all the way from Hawaii. Leilani, good to see you, welcome. All right, well, once again, thank you so much for being here, and it's such a pleasure. Let's go ahead and jump in right now. A really important topic, as Allison mentioned, addressing social emotional learning and mental health. We have three very special guests with us this evening. First of all, we have, she is the co-founder of hashtag I Can Help, also the co-founder of the Digital for Good event. And of course, we don't quite know yet what that's gonna look like. We don't know what a lot of events are looking like for this upcoming school year. But please give some virtual love for Kim Karr. Welcome,
Yay,
Kim.
thanks for having me. Yeah.
Good to see you. All right. Next up, he is the man behind Happiness is Now. He is, where I'm trying to look for, oh, there he is right there. He's got, is that your dog with you right now? Ladies and gentlemen, it's Danny Vuong-Batimana. Danny, good evening, welcome. Oh, and Danny, let me,
Gotcha.
There you go.
Hello.
Danny, what's your dog's name?
Thomas.
Hi, Thomas.
Oh, baby Thomas. Hello, hello.
Right on. Well, Danny, it's good to have both you and Thomas here this evening. And now we have another speaker. So a little bit of background, and Allison just informed us of this very recently. So originally, Allison, correct me if I'm wrong, we were going to have Tyler Derman. Tyler, another one of our speaker sponsors, and Tyler really got very ill earlier today. And so filling in for him on very short notice, and he may, I'm still looking for him.
He's on.
Is he in now? Okay, so he is the founder of Learning for Living. He's created such programs, you might have heard of these things, Link Crew, Web, Breaking Down the Walls, all the way from North Carolina, where it's already past his bedtime. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Phil Boyte.
Hey, Tyler's younger brother.
Well, it's good that we got that infusion of young blood and youthful exuberance. So welcome, Phil.
Here you go.
All right, so Allison, so we don't necessarily, this isn't like a slideshow driven program. Allison, what's the format for tonight's event supposed to be?
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Tonight is just an informal chat with our panelists. They can jump in and answer questions that you have. So if you want to type those in the chat, it could be how to prepare for the year, books to read, activities to do, just sharing of ideas. Just type those questions in the chat and Ron or I will pick up on those and we'll pose them to our panel and we'll go from there and see where this takes us.
And while you're generating those questions, why don't we go ahead and start off real quick, just in like maybe 30 seconds. One question, same question for all three of our presenters, just to kind of warm us up and get us started. When it comes to addressing social emotional learning and mental health in this upcoming school year, in this time of uncertainty, distance learning, blended learning, some school districts don't even know yet exactly what they're going back to. 30 to 60 seconds, what are one or two things that we as school leaders and educators really need to be looking out for in this upcoming school year, do you think? And let's go ahead and whoever wants to start us off, go ahead and jump right in, Danny or Kim or Phil. All right, Kim, Karr, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah, can you repeat that question one more time?
Yeah, so just in 30 to 60 seconds,
Yeah.
I don't need to put you on the spot for a long time, but 30 to 60 seconds, what's one thing or maybe two things that you think should be first and foremost as educators and school leaders are trying to think of, just to kind of wrap their brains around social emotional learning and mental health? What are the first things that kind of come to your mind?
I definitely think number one is making sure you check in on your staff. I think your staff has been working tirelessly, and do not forget about your admin team. Your admin team has been working, like, I have not even met an admin that's taken any kind of vacation days. So just realize that. So I think definitely if you haven't made a Google form, I have one if you need one. And now they're making them even better where they have Google Forms, like little Bitmojis on them. So I definitely think checking in with your staff is huge. And because you can't help others if you haven't taken care of yourself. You got to have self-care for yourself, and then you can help others. So I think that's the first and foremost. And then it is figuring out where the students are. Before you can even focus on any kind of academic, you have to focus on the mental health, the well-being of the students first, and see where they're at, kind of getting that gauge on where their trauma is, because I think everyone's all over the board. I think people who've had some experience, that's definitely there. So yeah, that's where I would start.
Let me unmute myself. Danny or Phil, who wants to? Same question.
I'll say, like Kim just, guys, remember we're people first and professionals second. And when people get task driven, they get professional first and people second. And we're going to get really task focused. We have been. I've been begging administrators, especially my superintendent friends, give your people time to go away for a week, because what I told them in early July, you're going to come up with 3 plans and they're going to make it a 4th, and that's exactly what happened. I think the governor of California said, hey, schools are going to make that choice, and then a week later said, nope, you can't go back or whatever, So the people who are making the best choices right now are the ones who are rested. But if we remember we're people first and professionals second, we might make it through this. And that means let's be intentional about checking in with each other in whatever way. And I'll give some ideas later in the talk, because Ron only gave us 45 seconds. But the thought is, let's be people first, take care of ourselves. We'll make better choices for students and staff as well.
All right, Phil, thank you. All right, Danny, your shot. Some guiding principles, big picture things.
Sure, I think checking in with the kids and having a time where they can really just be vulnerable and tell everybody where they're at. I think if a certain kid tells how they're struggling, I think the other ones will be open to sharing what those struggles are. I think at this point, we just want to feel connected, and we want to know that if we are feeling down at this time, it's okay. And we should be giving them tools on how to overcome that. And one thing that I did today, which was really effective, was anytime that I ruminate in a future thought or anxiety, and these things that make me nervous, and I feel hopeless, I go back to these 3 things: see, feel, and hear. what am I seeing? And it brings you back, what am I hearing? What am I feeling right now? And accept that I'm feeling anxiety, and I know that that will pass. But once we get to those three things and we question ourselves, when our minds are ruminating, then we go back into the present moment. We go back to the now. And I think it's very important at this point to really take it back to, go back to our basics and really try to live in the moment as much as possible.
All right. Well, good first start there. Looking over the chat, and one of the first questions that popped up is, what are your ideas for some easy activities to build community, either for reluctant staff, that's Randy's question, or just some really good like start of school activities to help focus on the social emotional aspect, mental health, either for staff or for students or both?
Conversation I had recently with a principal, he thinks they might be able to come back on campus, the adults in small groups, a department. They might be able to come back in PLCs. Every district's gonna be a little bit different rules, different things. And he was hopeful that maybe they could get together as a group of 5 or 7, maybe as many as 10. Who knows? That might be a possibility to do in person. If so, be specific, planning time to do some connecting. There's a difference between icebreakers and relationship builders. An icebreaker is a quick little fun game, something that you do, brings a laugh, takes you back to your 7-year-old self where you relax. You're like, okay, I'm going to be okay today. A relationship builder is when you actually share part of your story and some empathy is shared. All of a sudden someone goes, yeah, I felt that before, or hey, I know what you're talking about. Someone today shared that there's real stress in their family because they have some people in their family that are mask wearers, and there are people in their family who don't believe in them, and it's about to blow up their family. Nothing to do with school, nothing, it's just one of those stresses. Well, when that person said that, someone else said, me too, and all of a sudden there was this connection just for that one little story. And I think that if you get a chance to do that in person, take that time. If you don't, then break your groups up into smaller groups virtually so people can actually listen. As Danny said a few minutes ago, when people get a chance to share their story, it validates them and encourages somebody else. But I think there's also a certain number of faces on the screen that we're intimidated by. And if we can break those down where people feel a little safer in sharing, they might be a little bit more vulnerable, or they might be able to hear someone and say, okay, I'll check in with them after this meeting.
And Phil, you mentioned the difference between icebreaker and relationship builder. You see a place for both. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
I do. I think that when you first come back, give you an example. Last year I taught in a workshop the activity pennies, where you give everybody a coin, and an administrator went back, did it with her team. She had about 7 people in the room. Everybody takes a coin. You take a look at the coin, see what year was minted, and tell the group something significant that happened that year. She started out with something very serious, something that was a big deal in her life. And the next person, oh, 2014, that's when I bought my new truck. And then stopped. And she said that was what happened. The tone was set. Her intent was to mix a little fun little icebreaker with a relationship builder. It's fairly easy. But she said they didn't really go for it. I said, well, have you ever done anything like that before? She said, no. I said, well, try it again, a little bit different version. And second time went better. Third time they went super deep, and it meant the world. So I think the idea of an icebreaker is to kind of literally break the ice, to cause people to, hey, everybody in the room's going to do this. We laugh, we had a good time, whatever it is. And then they're willing to go a little bit deeper, because there's always that fear, I'm going to be the only one, and they're going to laugh at me. Whether you're a 5th grader, a 9th grader, or an adult, nobody wants to be laughed at. The icebreaker gives us a chance to laugh together. And then the relationship builder allows us to hear from one another, go, oh yeah, okay, I can relate to that.
Thank you, Phil. All right, Danny or Kim, what do you like in terms of activities to address the social emotional piece, and either from an icebreaker or a relationship builder perspective?
Yeah, well, I actually want to I see Brian put something in the note about asking if it's being recorded. And this is actually I got from one of our student interns. What's so cool is, this is the thing about students and being a part of our solution. Like, that's what we firmly believe in at I Can Help, is they just started taking notes. And every time we had a recording of anything, a student was like, I'm going to take notes during this meeting. And then they would share it out to everybody. So I know there's a lot of cool educators that I guarantee you take amazing bullet point notes. And what's so neat is why not do that? And then before we even get off, they can put it they can put a link in the chat, right? Like that's the cool piece about this. Instead of having to go back and listen to the audio, you just have someone has the show notes with all the amazing ideas that are gonna be up tonight. So I think that goes into my point of, for your staff being overwhelmed, there's so many resources that are out there. And I think this helps with the mental health. If you're able to, because you are the activities directors, I guarantee you're seeing the post. I know I can help posted one. I think we had like 600 people who liked it and reshared it. It was crazy. And it literally was, the best post was, it was every single distance learning thing, a tool you can use, everything from Flipgrid to whiteboard to you know what. That right there is the best thing that I've had people say, like, thank you for saving my life. This helped people's like anxiety going back to work. So just simple things is just a great, and then an icebreaker, honestly, is show them that list. Now talk about it, which one are you using, and have them talk about that. And that brings their anxiety down, and they have to talk about it in a positive way, because everyone can go the negative channel, and how you focus that on the positive and keep them that way is just talk about, nope, we're going to stay focused on how you're using these tools in the best kind of way. That helps everyone's anxiety come down because they're talking passionately and positively about it. So I think that's definitely a big tip. And then even helps get it from the students and see if you can challenge your leadership students to create a list for students. What's the tools that are helping you? They have so many cool tools. I know my interns are actually working on a list to get out to students right now on what tools are helping them with organization, with keeping track of everything, that kind of stuff. So that's a huge icebreaker, I think, is just showing resources and keeping it organized for them.
Thanks, Kim. And Kim, if you get a chance, can you share a link to that particular piece from Facebook? Because I know other people would love to see that as well.
Absolutely.
Danny, any thoughts on an activity?
Yeah, you know, I think I used to teach at West Covina High School. I taught math and Renaissance. And I'm thinking what I would do on the first day. I would actually tell them my story. I would tell them actually how I'm doing during this time. And to be honest with you guys, I'm in a seasonal depression. I haven't danced in 2 months. I haven't been working on my business. I've just kind of been working on myself and trying to find how can I get my motivation to get back? And I think it has to start with the basics, you know, spending time with family, going outside, eating right, exercising. Like if I've tried all those things and it's not working, then maybe it's time to seek some therapy. And for me, I started therapy. We're on a program, and I'm starting to see the light. And I started becoming a speaker because I listened to Brene Brown about being vulnerable, and I feel like the reason why I can connect with kids so fast is because they know that I'm not fake, or they know that my story is real and the struggle is real. So I feel like the first day of school, yes, I'll have the energy, but I'm going to start with the story and how I'm doing. And I'm not doing the best that I could, but I know that every day, if I keep focusing on this, it's going to get better. An activity that I would definitely suggest is to have the students have like study groups on Zoom, and then give them a task to do a TikTok dance or some type of dance. Even if they meet in the park, they social distance, they have music, they have the sun, they're getting their vitamin D, they're moving, they're actually creating choreography and just creating like, it does something to the brain. It does something to your endorphins, to your dopamine. I think dancing right now is so big and everybody's doing it. I would highly suggest doing some type of dance related activity and for them to share what they did, because you'll be surprised how funny and creative they'll get. It encompasses everything. Dance and choreography encompasses everything about social emotional learning.
I'm hearing a common thread. I'm hearing Danny talk about dance as an outlet. Kim was talking about journaling, like almost like bullet journaling, right? Where you can kind of share those ideas in a creative way. Let's see, trying to go through some of our questions. Oh, Mike White asks, what can we do to help new students that didn't go to middle school in our district feel safe on campus and connect with other ninth grade students? and maybe this would just speak to the larger question of connecting your new, if they're middle school, your new 6th or 7th graders, if you're high school, connecting your new 9th graders to a school culture, especially a school culture where a lot of us can't even meet in person together. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do. Number one, I'm seeing a lot of people asking about the online community. And so your class officers honestly should be making a class of whatever year they are and having them do some kind of a thing. There's a site, and I'll put the site in the chat once I get done talking. It's called Find a Friend 2022. So it was a class, it was a sophomore class president last year. She wanted to get to know her class her classmates, and it literally was to take a picture of Ron, and then it would be, here's Ron. He he loves technology, hasn't, whatever it might be, right? And then go find Ron today, and then they would put a picture of him in their story. And even I asked her, so she, like, that was actually really popular. So all these students wanted to learn how to do that, and so I asked her, are you still able to do this during COVID? She's like, absolutely. She still was able to submit, but then they actually FaceTime, and then they were taking pictures of with Ron and still tagging them. So they found ways, or even on Snapchat or different things. So they're still able to do that and get to know people. And they would sometimes ask a question, or they would be like, here's some interesting fact about that person. And then they got to know them. So it was just this kind of a fun way that these students took advantage of it. And now what's neat is if your students DM message her, she'll give you how to start it, how to run it, how to operate it. She gives you the list. So that's, again, students coming up with that solution. You can also do scavenger hunts. Like there's things you can do, and that way they can choose their circle of friends, small circle of friends they can do these little activities with. I love the ideas of even, they love doing slow motion videos, right? Or the fast motion videos, time lapse, right? The time lapse ones. So what if it was like a cooking, the bake off, right? Like that kind of a thing. So somehow incorporate different things, like showing off their pets, like even if it is an iguana or, whatever it might be, there's different cool things that they can see and get to know each other. And if you give them that challenge and you give them a few ideas, they run with it.
Great, Kim, thank you. Along that same topic of connecting your incoming students, and then Allison asked the question, do you have any ideas that can be done online to build community and strengthen social emotional wellness when you have 125 kids in an online meeting and you can't break out into smaller groups? So let's say that your school district has said, no, you can't use Zoom, you can't do the breakout rooms, you got to use Google Meet or some other platform. How do you build relationships, community, strengthen social emotional wellness when it's everybody in the pool? Any ideas on that?
Honestly, I would go back to your students and ask them and do a brain session kind of a piece. There is things that you can do. Like a lot of people are doing even a movie thing. What else have I seen? There's definitely been, even if they can just check it off and they're able to even email it in. They do one of those bingos on Instagram on the story. So if you're able to use Instagram story, have that where they're putting it up on there. And again, they're tagging your school account. And if they do that, I've seen schools give out small gift cards to certain, especially local companies that you're supporting. Now you're supporting local business as well. So there is a lot of creativity. I think when you go to the students, don't just put this on yourself. Again, that's a lot of stress on you. Go to the students and ask them, hey, here's what we're set up with, and challenge them that. And I love brainstorming with people. So if you're stuck with all these like borders and things like that, please reach out to me. I love helping people with these challenges to kind of come up with that creative kind of juices of what you can do.
When I'm thinking, you guys get Kim's address, because she just offered to meet with you individually between now and December anytime you want. Danny and I are going to be learning how to dance, or Danny's going to be teaching me how to dance, but y'all just call Kim. That's that new, that thing. But I'm thinking a little bit smaller groups. You guys, a lot of you are asking for these large group activities. And to me, that's one big challenge. To think about, hey, we're going to welcome Mike White. I'm assuming 400 or 500 students onto your campus as freshmen. I keep thinking, how do you get them back into smaller groups? Because It's pretty hard to share your story or be intimate in a large group. I just got off a call a few minutes ago where people were talking about how do you connect with students to see if someone's struggling. Brian Slater up in the Seattle area, he has kids fill out a Google form and puts a number 1 through 5. 1 is, man, I'm struggling. 3, I'm okay. 5 is, I'm doing great. Please ask me. He's been doing that for a couple of years, and it works great. One of the teachers said he used to do fist to 5. He said, hey, everybody just check in real quick and show me on your hand. 0 is, man, life is really bad. 5 is great. Same thing. But he realized the Google thing provides a little anonymity for a student. So you might have 30, 35 kids in class, and the first thing they do when they get on a Zoom call is they put on their form where they're at. And you now know, hey, here's a couple kids I need to check in with or have a counselor check in with. And how you do that with a group of 125, Ron, I'm not sure. But maybe a group of 25 or 30, you have time to scan that Google form enough to go, okay, hey, here's a couple kids we need to address, we need to check in with. That's one. Another one that one of the people shared recently with us was just having kids check in, a high, a low, and a cheer. And I said, well, tell me more about that. And some of you may have heard this, but when they get a chance to develop those relationships, maybe you ask a couple kids each period or a couple kids each day, what was something high today that went really well, something low, something really hard, and who's someone you're cheering for? And I said, what does that mean? They said, well, someone else that you're like, hey, my grandma's struggling or my neighbor's struggling, and it takes the kids' focus off themselves onto someone else that they're really rooting for. And sometimes it gives us a glimpse of, hey, you know what, this kid's doing great. Maybe they're willing to help somebody else out. So it just gives you a little sense of some support there. So those are, again, as you're going from a large group to a smaller group, some ways to keep an eye on kids.
Well, and like you're mentioning, Phil, there are tools like Google, like the Google form you were talking about, Nearpod, Pear Deck, like there are educator tools where you can do those instead of using the questions, multiple choice questions as an assessment tool or formative assessment tool, you instead use it to assess their emotional well-being, right? So you can still track that. You can gather that data in a class and just ask it as a question and like, hey, how are you guys doing today? And then it will come in. I know that for myself, I'm investigating Nearpod and never used it before, but you know, looking into a tool like that as a way of gathering not only academic data, but also social emotional data as well. All right.
I have something to add.
Yeah.
Hi. Everybody take a deep breath in. One more. What do you see? Look around and what do you see? What are you seeing? Really look at what you're seeing. What are you hearing in the background? Is it somebody in the living room, or I'm hearing water? And then how are you feeling right now? And really be open and honest of how you're feeling. If you're feeling positive, you're feeling tired, it's okay to feel that. And by doing those 3 things, we just got back into focus. I like the mentor thing, you know, pairing up a freshman with an incoming 8th grader or a group of freshmen or sophomores or seniors, upperclassmen with lower ones, because I feel like they want to give back. Phil is my mentor. You know, I reached out to him and I just said, hey, look, I'm new. I don't know what I'm doing really. Can you give me some help? And the fact that he was able to share his valuable time with me. And when we see each other at the convention, I feel like I have a connection with him, but that was only because he allowed me to ask him questions and he guided me on a path to become successful. And I think there's so many people out there that want to help others be successful. And so I love how Kim said, you know, ask the students. You guys do so much work, ask them. Let them create the assignments. This is an unknown thing that we're in, and we don't know the answers. So we need everybody's help. We need their help, but we get to pick and choose what we like and what we're going to actually assign to them. But I think this is a time to just kind of like, you know what? I'm just going to go in and I'm gonna be vulnerable. I'm gonna let the kids share, and then we're gonna pick and choose what feels good? What do I think would benefit them? And I think if you give them that power, they're really going to run and they're really going to excel at this time. They're really going to vibe with you. They're going to vibe with each other, and you're going to really help them go through this emotional time. So I think, yeah, mentorship, grouping older people with the younger ones.
Great, Danny, thank you. And thank you for the centering activity too. I like, I like that. I want to use that in my classroom, in my virtual classroom, and in my physical classroom when we finally get back together physically. Hey, we're going to pivot a little bit. You know, so here in California, we have this requirement to track engagement, right? Like we have to prove, we have to report which students are engaged on a weekly basis and which ones aren't. So I think Shelley's question is very relevant to this. With middle schoolers, and really with any age level for that matter, but definitely middle school, is it best with middle schoolers to insist on having their video turned on to prove that they're there, right? To prove that they're engaged. They're shy and withdrawn, but I really appreciate seeing them. So what are your thoughts from that, you know, social emotional perspective, trying to find that balance? Do you require them to have the video on? Do you give them the option? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I think the big thing, I used to work with middle schoolers, and they definitely are really, you know, being a middle school teacher for 13 years is definitely their quirky. And I think you use a lot of, like, if you're a PBS school, positive behavior incentive program, you of course highly encourage them. And then I don't know, Jennifer Rodriguez is on here, and it's so fun to go on a video call with Jennifer because you never know what her Zoom background's going to be. So I think you make it into like a little game, right? And you kind of have that piece. And if you know Jennifer, she also likes tropical. So you know that you're going to be like feeling like you're on a beach. And so I love that she would make a theme for her students. Like today's going to be tropical theme, or, you know, I think one school even did a Veggie Tales. So there was like a veggie melody like theme. So it's like super interesting. So you can be kind of creative on that. And it's like they would just wear a certain color. And I know it's like you want to have low risk, but even if they're wearing a green shirt, be like, yay, you're, you know, whatever color they're wearing, you make it into a big deal, or, you know, whatever it might be. So I think there's creative ways of kind of hyping it up for them and making them feel special and encouraging that behavior. And then it just automatically comes once they see this is kind of this is the new norm. That's what kind of works.
I like what Randy wrote here. Ask the kids who won't be on the chat to share, won't be on the camera to share. We have a family in our family that has 8 kids living in a 3-bedroom apartment right now, and they're all trying to be on. They're really focused on school, but it's really difficult. So imagine what it would be like for those kids to have their screen on. And so I think there's probably some situations where it doesn't make sense to have the screen on. And I love the quote, rules without relationship create reluctance. And so if there's a relationship between you, the teacher, and those students, I think they'll do the best they can to honor whatever you ask. But I think there will probably be some times when they don't want to have that on for some embarrassing reason or something like that, perhaps. I think that if we know that is one of the reasons we ask, we suggest, maybe come up with agreements that kids will have them on as much as possible. I had someone say a while back, it's really discouraging if you're the only one with your screen on, you're teaching to a blank wall essentially. So that's pretty awkward. So maybe sharing, so kids can be empathetic to you as the teacher to understand what that would be like. Or maybe even have a deal where they're sharing something, everybody turns their screen off so people go, oh, wow, that's weird, for them to get your feeling. Because I think a sense of empathy that kids go, okay, I need to be on, I want to be on. I think when you're open, and most of you on this call tonight are the type of people I think that probably have a good relationship with kids. And if it starts with a relationship, they want to be part of it. They want to see it. And what Kim just said, if you do the J-Rod thing, if you've always got something clever, creative, interesting, then the kids want to see it. They want to go, hey, what's she doing? Jimmy Gleek talks about that in Vegas, about making the announcements every morning, doing something fun that they don't want to miss.
Yeah, I like that, Phil. I think if people are embarrassed because of their situations, then I'm going to show them not the perfect, I'm not going to show them, oh, here's my big screen TV. I'm going to show them real life. I'm going to go in there, and maybe one day I'm going to be with the kids and it's going to be crazy. I might have to shout at them, You know, I might have to show my messy house. You know, I might have to show them what real life is about. Because if you show that it's okay, that this is, it's normal, that these situations are happening, then the kids will be like, you know what? My teacher showed us what their house looked like, and it's not that clean. Or maybe not even dress up or put makeup on that day, or fix your hair. Just come in and just be like, look, this is me today. I'm not feeling it. Let's go. How are you guys feeling? Because I'm at a 1 right now, but how are you guys feeling? You guys are gonna have to pick me up because I'm not feeling that well right now. So it's your chance to really share and be the ones that are going to create happiness today. And I think if we can show that, the kids will be okay. I think it's kind of cool. I think, just like I said, just being vulnerable, that word keeps coming up with me.
Danny, you certainly are a student of Brene Brown for sure. I love that. Love the vulnerability piece. Okay, so we had the question about middle school. Now let's go ahead and swing in the other direction. A question from Judy. Judy Zavreski, she asks, what special activities can we do for seniors? So, you know, at the end of last year, I heard a lot of people say, you know what, I kind of feel bad for the class of 2020, but the class that I really feel bad for is the class of 2021, because they're going to have to start their senior year in all of this madness. So what are some things that you would recommend for helping high school seniors through this process, through that emotional distress, you know, questions about college and their senior year athletics, all of that stuff? How do you help them through this?
I think the first thing that comes to my mind, honestly, is reaching out to your alumni, especially the 2020 class, and see if they can come in and do some kind of a thing, right? Because they've been through it. So, and then also trying to bring in some alumni who's had some big story that's talking about being resilient, because this is what we're doing. We're having to be resilient. So if you can get somebody who can even film themselves that is an alumni, because I think that's the big pride piece too, on that end, where they can talk about, if it's someone who, you know, had some resilient story of making it through and have some kind of a piece, like, these are tough times and we have to stay focused on what you're doing and then be able to look back at it. I think that's super important. I think there is ways, again, going back to the students and seeing what they can do to recognize each other. I know sports is, I saw that in the chats. I saw at the end of the year for baseball and softball, man, social media was awesome. Like, seeing how they celebrated the seniors. They were able to create senior night. They were able to create, you know, they've been able to do virtual proms. They've been able to do all these different things. And yes, it's not exactly how they ideally wanted to do it, but they still made it happen. I think they need to go back and ask, what is the thing that they're most excited about? And then figure out how can we scale that to what will be allowed in our district. So some of the things, what's important to the adults, what the adults see, is not important to the students. Sometimes they're just like, we just want to be able to get with a few of our friends. Sometimes it's, you know, like they want to be able to do the sunrise and sun up. So actually what I've heard is doing a drive-in style for sunrise and whatever. And then if there's a limit on how many you can have, then you might have to have multiple days of that. But then they get to sign up with their friends. So I think there's some really creative ways that you can do it. Just again, depending on what your district's allowing you to do, and figuring out what's important to the students, ask them first, and then going from there. Don't plan something without asking the students, what are the events that you think are important, and then go from that piece, because you're going to have to eliminate some stuff or adjust some stuff. They're not going to be able to do everything. So do a couple things really, really well.
Some of you on this call know a guy named Keith Hawkins. His daughter, Cambria, many of you heard that name, she tore her ACL, I think, and had to miss a season of sports. And Keith said she recognized that she probably grew as much through that experience as she ever did playing basketball. And it was interesting to hear her actually talking to Jalen, her younger brother, about, you know, you take it for granted because he's still playing. He broke his ankle at some point, but he's still playing, and a lot of lessons. So Kim, as you said, alumni, I was thinking it might be interesting to have a current student or an alumni, or maybe even a well-known alumni, who comes back and talks about having to play through or survive a season-ending injury, to kind of empathize that, yeah, you guys might miss your football or volleyball season or lacrosse season or something. I did too, and this is how I grew. another thing I think for helping students with the social emotional thing, because a lot of kids, that's their thing. You got your ASB leadership kids, that's their thing, and they're bummed right now because they don't get to do what they thought they would always get to do. And that's your role, to talk them through that and say, let's find ways to replace that. But I wonder how many have taken the time to sit down with some of the key coaches. Not all are going to listen, but there may be a couple, and say, how are you helping your students with the social emotional part of missing their sport? And some are getting to play club volleyball or club basketball, or competing with their friends, but to actually a dance team or a choir or band, for the adults to go, how do we listen and figure out how to do whatever? I think Danny said earlier, Kim said, ask the students and let them go, what if we did this? Or how about if we did this? But I'm wondering how many adults are frustrated because they don't get to do their sport or their thing. And so maybe they're not able to transfer it down to the kids, but it might be a conversation you have as a staff or extracurricular folks to say, what can we do? And I bet some pretty cool ideas might come out of that.
Agreed.
All right, Kim, Danny, and Phil, thank you. So I've just been kind of monitoring the chat, and one of the things that came up, so Raven, hello, Raven Coit, Raven got a shout out. And so Raven, it looks like we were talking about your week of welcome presentation, which you said was based on Carissa Stobing's week of welcome presentation. So I'm gonna go ahead and to try to save you, Raven, from a bunch of people dropped their email in the chat. So Raven, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're saying, Raven, you're saying basically instead of us all emailing, or you having to collect all these emails, that if they check out Carissa's presentation, that is pretty much the presentation that you modified. Is that correct, Raven?
Yeah,
I
learned a lot from Carissa. Their school does a whole week. My school just does 2 days. I'm happy to share, but I definitely didn't make it up. I just made it work for my school. And so I've got, would love to talk with you all about it. And I was just thinking, like, how am I going to package this neatly to share it? But I'll figure out a way to do that and send, here's what I know about it. But definitely look at what Carissa made, because that's the parent experience to what I'm the kid or grandkid of that.
Okay, and Raven, I'm going to take a little bit of responsibility off of you. Rather than you having to go through the chat and pull all of those emails, Raven, if you just want to throw your email into the chat, and then if after reviewing the Carissa materials, if they still have more questions for you specifically, then they can contact you. We'll put the responsibility on them rather than the other way around.
Okay. Thanks,
Raven. Okay, I'm looking through. Allison, I have a question, but Allison is looking through the chat. Are there questions that we have missed?
I did not see any that we missed, Ron.
Okay, well, while you're looking then, I'm gonna throw this out to our panel and see what they think. So, you know, a lot of times we as the campus culture people, we kind of, you know, take this all on our shoulders, but we, especially during this time, we want to cooperate, we want to work together with administrators, we want to work together with our mental health team on campus, our school psych, Eric's counselors, our school counselors. So do you have any thoughts or ideas on how we can connect our whole, you know, the bigger team, right? Admin, counseling, mental health, you know, a psychologist team, to kind of work together in conjunction with them to help with the social emotional piece, the mental health and wellness piece. Any thoughts on that? And Diane Schmidt just asked kind of a related, connected question. Any important Wellness Week activities or themes or activities related to wellness?
Yeah, absolutely. If your school hasn't done it yet, plan their PD day. They should be planning something with mental health to start off with, and just talking about trauma. That is something that I can help now. We teamed up with Providence Health. And I'm going to drop it in the chat here. So if you check out worktobewell.org, that's what I can help get a grant for last year to be able to create the curriculum. Right now there's 4 topics: self-care and mindfulness, which that one honestly is one of my favorites. Paul Chilinsky and Melissa actually at CADA Camp a couple years ago, they created it with that mindset of us, like what we were trying to do. And then we just took it and got Providence to back it and to change it to make it so that the doctors actually backed it. You actually make a first emotional first aid kit inside of it. So there's a PowerPoint, there's some facilitator notes. We literally make the facilitator notes so easy that we really think a student should be leading the thing, because we don't think it should just be counselors and health teachers having this conversation about mental health. It needs to be every single person on your campus to break the stigma. The stats and data is there. Suicide now is the #2 cause of death for 10 to 24-year-olds. And that actually, it's now gone to #1 in a few states. The only one that's beating that is accidents, car accidents. So I think it's like 7 million people have died in despair during this time. So these numbers are going up. So yes, I love that you guys are planning this already. You're doing something during your week of welcome where it is this, but it can't just be one and done. And we check the box and move on. It needs to be in the conversation on a daily basis. So work should be digital citizenship, and because digital citizenship also includes digital wellness. Because mental health and social media are so connected. They're comparing themselves to others. They're seeing, like, I'm even doing that right now, because it is really hard to live alone and seeing everybody go on these like summer vacation with their families. And I usually am home, but I can't go home during this time. And so it is really hard for me to see that. So it's being able to kind of share that. And so that emotional first aid kit is there. I can't go home, but what I do is I go to my images and I look at pictures of my family. So that's in my first aid kit. Another one is smells. What are the smells that make me happy? I love baking pizza during the week because that's one of my favorite smells, or brownies or popcorn. Touch is a huge one. So actually right now, even though I'm hot, it's like almost 100 degrees up here. I actually have my weighted blanket on me because that's just a soothing thing. My cat is on my lap, which usually isn't, but again, that's a touch. And then I actually got in the mail today. I'm so excited. I got kinesthetic sand. Oh my gosh. This is like a life-changing. So it's just these simple things. And once I post this, so many students were like, I just it's $10 on Amazon. So, and I've been sending it to my interns who I know are stressed out, or former students, things like that, who I know who are there. I think that's so important to have those emotional first aid kits and make it simple and basic for them, going back to their basic roots. Even a simple playlist. So I know I can help interns. They created a Spotify playlist for relaxation and happy songs. They made a playlist for on Spotify and on YouTube. So they've created that, and it's on our I Can Help channel that they've put a link in. So those are all the different things that we're trying to showcase that emotional first aid kit. So I put the link in there. The other one's anxiety and depression, stress, and emotionally connect, partner, and respond. So what do you do if a kid is telling you, because they're usually going to go to their peers if they're suicidal or self-harming, or if they're high anxiety, what do they do with that information? So it's teaching students how do they connect, partner, and respond, or teaching the adults, because a lot of times when I was meeting with counselors, I met with them weekly. The biggest thing they were having is the teachers didn't understand the difference between is this serious? Like, what's the risk? Is this a yellow? Is this green? Is this red? So they didn't know when to report it. They just report everything as high risk. So really kind of teaching your staff even what is red, what is yellow, and what's kind of green, like just knowing about it. So I think those are really important to have in your wellness week. And then definitely digital citizenship, because that's what's causing a lot of the mental health too.
In regards to suicide rates, it's happening the highest amongst the LGBTQIA youth. And just thinking back in high school, and to realize that if I were to go back to high school and there was COVID around, I don't know what would happen, how my life would be. My husband recently found out that he was bipolar. And so we're trying to navigate a couple of things here that's going on. So that's what has been a little bit difficult, is trying to figure out, we have mental illness in our family, and how do we navigate that? I would love to, from the bottom of my heart, to speak with your LGBTQIA students anytime, and just kind of hash out like the positives and the negatives, and just kind of like what it is to live, sometimes not feeling your best or not knowing your value. But if they can hear it from somebody that has gone through it and know that everything's going to be all right, but it is going to be a hard fight, I would love to be a part of that conversation and part of that wellness week with your LGBTQ IA kids. I see them in the audience all the time, and that's when I just re-energize. And I have a special drive to help these students. So that's my focus. I think use me if you want. And also Action for Happiness is a website where a lot of activities you could do with your kids. Yep, that's in London, in England, they have a positive psychology movement. So that's where I get a lot of my stuff from, is Action for Happiness.
Ron, as you started this question, you talked about all the different positions on campus, and it kind of made me laugh because it almost felt like one of those murder mysteries where FBI and CIA didn't want to talk to Homeland Security. And the thought that I had was, how does your staff with all those different roles come to an agreement of who deals with it? Because I think the thing that we don't want is someone to miss, oh, I thought they were going to deal with it. I thought they'd deal with it. And I like what Kim shared when she said, let's make it real clear with the staff. How do we approach this? And I think in the first couple days to get real clear, will we talk to them or them? Because if it's ambiguous, I think it's really easy for someone to get lost. And so that would be the biggest thing, is that the staff is clear on how do we approach this? Who do we approach? Because the first couple of weeks is going to be crazy. And if at least that decision is made with that team of people who absolutely care, but sometimes there's confusion on who should deal with it. And as Kim said, people aren't sure how serious it is, but at least if they know who to go to with it, that's a start. So that was my thought.
If you've been following the chat, so there are some resources. Allison and Valerie both shared the resources on I Wish My Teacher Knew, that activity. And so if you want to check that out. And then also a friend of mine, Heather Kennedy, she teaches at West Ranch High School, and I know that, the big thing right now is the Bitmoji classroom. That's all the rage these days. So she actually created a Bitmoji Wellness Center. And I know others, Paul Chalinsky, he's created a virtual wellness center as well. And I know other educators are doing that also. So I shared the link to Heather Kennedy, the one that she created. And I know there are a lot of other educators doing that as well. Jill asks, Phil, how do we stop the silos? I know that's a term you love to use. How do we stop the silos with our staff as we embark on this journey, showing empathy and support for one another?
I think oftentimes your administration makes the decision how you're going to spend your professional development time. And so if you can influence that, I think if people can get together outside their typical traditional cliques, that will help, even if it's 5 or 6 people, to say, how are you going to deal with this? When Kim started sharing things earlier about Flipgrid and Whiteboard and showing people resources and Icebreaker, I was like, brilliant. Well, how many of them have been working all summer to be prepared, and how many of them haven't given a thought? They said, I went on summer vacation. They're all going to walk back into your building at the same time. There can be an incredible amount of resentment, or there can be an incredible amount of, gosh, I understand that, let's go. And if you can find a way to blend groups, if you can be together in a small group of 5 or 6 physically, great. If not, how do you mix groups so that all of a sudden some of the folks who've been working can have some time with the people who haven't working, and somehow set the tone of, let's assume the best intent. Because if I assume that you didn't do anything because you're lazy, that's going to damage everything. But if I can assume the fact that you didn't do anything because you had an illness, you had some major deal, your boat was rocking really big time, then I'm willing to support you. Because I think the silos happen because either I'm embarrassed, I don't feel good enough, or I don't feel safe to go over and talk to you. You guys are all going out on Friday night to the bar for an hour. I don't feel welcome to go in there. Kristen Patton talks about even when they were doing lawn chair lunch or they were doing Nacho Fridays, a couple teachers, like, I walked by and it just looked like all the cool kids in there and I didn't want to go in. How do you invite everybody in with the cool kids? You have a partner that says, hey, come sit with us virtually. Heather Garcia said she has her computer on sometimes, and they're just, she said 6 or 8 of us are in our living rooms, in our kitchens, somewhere, just working, but we have our computers on. We're all in the same Zoom call. And, hey, how do you deal with this? Or what are you doing with this? Or, hey, I'm making this recipe. sometimes not even related to our classroom. And she said, we started to reach for people who weren't in our silo, people who weren't in our clique. So those are a couple things just that come off the top of my mind real quick, Jill.
Hey, Ron, can I share a couple things real quick?
Go for it.
That,
Yeah.
that I've gotten from some of these amazing speakers who are on here, as a matter of fact. I mentioned that we're doing a week of welcome for the very first time at Sierra Middle School this year. It was funny because we've done a Unity Day, which has been a day for about 7 or 8 years. And this year I planned 3 days thinking, are they gonna go for it? It's 3 days. They were kind of getting antsy with 1 day. And they said, can you do more? Can we do 5 days? And so we've been brainstorming as a staff over the last 2 weeks voluntarily and have put something together, and it's really connected our staff. And I feel like all of the ideas that are coming out of it, because everybody's creating it, we're more likely to support it as a team. A couple of things that I got from my friend Phil that we're still going to do is because we are going to be teaching at school, but we're teaching the kids who are at home. So we're still going to be on campus, but like in our little, it's going to be even more isolated than ever because we're going to be talking to a screen all day, but in our classroom. And so we've already started planning lawn chair Fridays where everyone's going to bring a lawn chair and we're going to sit at least 6 feet apart outside, but without all the noise of the kids being there. We can still hear each other. We can still have conversation because we really miss each other. And then the other idea that I got from Phil, and this may have been in his School Culture by Design, or he may have a book, or he may have told me this. He suggested on the first day of school, well, we'd have a Sierra staff loves list, and our staff members all fill out that form, and they tell us all the things that they love, like, what is your love language, or your appreciation language, I should say. What is your favorite Starbucks drink? What is your favorite snack? What's your favorite candy bar? And so on the first day of school, our new teachers will each be getting their favorite Starbucks drink delivered to their classroom by me. It's usually by the kids, but this year it'll be by me. And then at the end of the day, we'll show up there with their favorite snack and check in with them and say, you're part of the family here. We just want you to know how much we appreciate you being here. And those were ideas from Phil and his amazing creativity and connections with people. But I think those are the kinds of things that we still need to do to maintain those connections with our staff, because it is going to be so isolating. I mean, I always joke at the beginning of the year, my classroom looks perfect. And the first minute that a kid walks in, it's, there's rally supplies everywhere and it's crazy. But this year it's going to be really weird when my classroom is all organized and neat and there's no kids in there. So I think maintaining those connections amongst staff and especially reaching out to those newer members of staff who are coming in. We have 2 first-year teachers starting at our school, and making sure, this is their first year, their first experience in the classroom, and it's going to be virtual. So making them feel like, hey, how'd your day go? What do you need? Can I share something with you? Do you have any ideas for me? So, yeah, just wanted to share those ideas.
Thanks, Allison. Okay, so I'm taking a look at the clock on my wall here, 7:58 p.m. Generally, we try to keep these to about an hour, usually if we can, so that you can go back and spend time with your family, or go back and continue planning for the upcoming school year. Hopefully, taking a little bit of a break. But let's go ahead and kind of start to kind of put a bow on this. What's the one thing that you want to leave us with this evening? The message that you want to share with, gosh, we still have 106 educators that are still with us, plus all the ones that are going to watch this, later on YouTube. Danny, Kim, Phil, your final message that we should know about emotional well-being, social emotional health, all the stuff that we've been talking about tonight.
I think that thank you all for being on this call. I truly admire you guys during this time. I know that this world knows now how important you guys are, because they had to teach their kids at home. And now they know that you guys are very important. So when that next contract negotiation comes up, I hope you guys get everything that you guys deserve. It starts with self-care, and I hope you guys take the time to really, really focus on what you're doing on a daily basis. If you're getting enough sleep, if you are, if you have the right lights in your home, if you're wearing glasses that block out the blue lights, if you're drinking enough water, are you getting the 20 minutes of sunlight outside before 10 o'clock? Are you taking mental breaks? It's these things that you can tinker. It's these small things that you can tinker. Are you meditating? These small things that you can add to your daily life, and if it works for you, you can share that with your students. But to get through this, you really need to take care of yourself. And you know what? If you have hotel points, go ahead and book a room at the nearest by hotel by yourself and just be with yourself and have fun, and then come back to your family. I'm sure your spouse will understand. It really is about spoiling yourself and really taking care of yourself and finding what you need during this time, because it is going to be a little bit it's going to be a little bit of a challenge in the beginning, but I'll let you know that this is going to pass. And when this all passes and we go back to normal, you're going to look back at this and you're like, I'm glad that we went through this, because I have grown so much as a teacher, and I'm just so motivated to provide more and to be better and to give the world more of me. So thank you guys for the opportunity to be here. Love you guys all.
Danny, thank you. And that reminds me of the mask dropping in the airplane, right? Like, you got to put your own mask on first, take care of your immediate needs first before you can help others. So thank you for that reminder. Kim, Karr, what about you?
Yeah, oh, there's so much. Like, it's so hard to figure out, you know, what the biggest needs are. I actually just helped my principal friend. She wanted to give her staff, she's like, I know people are giving out masks, and which, you know, she's doing, but she's like, I really want to give them something to like make them think. So she's giving them a fork. And it has a cool story on it, and if you need it, I can get it for you. But basically, she's like, my favorite meal with any meal is dessert, right? And so you have to cue the restaurant person to be able to tell them like, hey, I need to keep this fork for dessert because the best is yet to come. So that's what she's giving them. The staff is like, I know we're starting hard, but why not give them a fork and say the best is yet to come, and realize that we can get through this together. So just one of those cute little things. It's a fork. Yes, we glitterified it. She loves glitter. And then we just tied out, you know, the quote around that, so she can hand them out. So it's not just giving them a mask. It's a reminder like that we need to be mindful. Changing that mindset is so important. In that work to be well, there's actually documents about mind shift and making them change their shift. And there's so many different things. Again, getting the students to be part of the solution, whatever your problems are. Do not do this by yourself. Don't just do this with your admin. Get your students involved. And the last thing I think is so important is to have fun. You have to remind yourself to have fun. And one of my students actually just showed this to me. It's an app, and it's literally the karaoke app. And so we're going to be having an event together where we get to have a karaoke. And yes, I'm going to invite Kelly Jeffords. You're going to be invited to the party because I know you love to karaoke. So be ready for it.
All right, Phil Boyte, you're our senior statesman of the group, and so I'm gonna leave the final word to you.
Is that because I'm up the latest? So, guys, I want to give you one last idea, and that is, I think it's a time to really think about retention. How do we cause folks who are in education to want to stay in this thing? And one of the fun little ideas is we were talking about how do you welcome a new teacher who's going to be virtual. Someone said we have 2 brand new 22-year-olds. Well, what can you do? Could your leadership, I think Raven, you said earlier on our call this morning, you can have some of your leadership kids actually do a Zoom introduction of the teacher to start the very first hour of the class in August, September, whenever you start, and some way to make the start fun. We think about that 22-year-old teacher. What about the 32-year-old that's just moved to your building, or the 52-year-old who's thinking this could be my last year? You know, what can we do to cause, because what's that quote, if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. If the teachers are healthy, if the staff is healthy, making it, like Kim just said, how do we make it fun? How can we start off in a way that kids go, this is going to be all right. This teacher's pretty cool, because some kid in your leadership program, your activities program, your music program, whatever, does a great introduction for a teacher. Take the teachers and say, hey, leadership kids or music kids, who do you want to introduce? Oh, I love her, I love him, and have them do that introduction each period the first day. So kids on Zoom are like, that was cool. So just throwing out one more idea, because that's what we're hungry for, is how do we create a place that no one wants to leave, that people are like, this is going to be okay after all. The staff says that, the kids say that. So Ron, from Tyler's younger brother, that's what I got. It's a privilege to be on the call, and thank you all for just giving your all. Those of you who've been working so much. I keep seeing some of the same faces on every call, and I'm like, Ted, Sarah, Valerie, do you guys ever sleep? I don't think so, but you love kids so much. So cheers, y'all.
And Phil, thank you for coming in at the very last second for us. That was incredibly kind of you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, hey, we are just about ready to wrap this up. Want to, first of all, share, Allison, did I share the correct screen there? Can you see?
Yes, that's awesome.
Good. Okay, good. Sometimes with my two monitors, it's like the dueling displays here. So if you do want to reach out to our presenters this evening, there's their presenter information right there. Email addresses, so you can reach out if you want to make contact. Also, if you are as excited as I am about sharing this with someone else, then you can go ahead, the thing that you can do right now, well, as soon as we get off the call, is go to YouTube, go to youtube.com/CADA Leaders, or you can just search for CADA Leaders on YouTube and subscribe and click that bell. That way, as soon as this recording is posted, then you will go ahead and get that notification. So that you can then, the principal, the assistant principal, the counselor, whoever was not able to make it to watch this tonight, they can check it out, and so you can share some of that love. And then Allison, we have another Zoom event that is coming up.
We do.
Talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So next Monday night, here's the, okay, I thought I was muted there for a second.
I can hear you.
So one of the things that's come up is, how do we maintain our clubs and assemblies if we're remote or hybrid this year? So we're going to have 2 professional speakers, 2 of our bronze CADA speaker sponsors, as well as our own Bonnie Bagiri, who's on this call, our Area G coordinator. And they're going to talk to us about their ideas for how to maintain clubs and keep that connection going with kids while we're on campus. So we highly recommend that you attend that. And then on the 17th, we're going to take a week off to get ready for school to start. And then on the 17th, we're actually going to put together a Zoom event that we're going to break out into different rooms and breakout rooms and cover different topics, but all revolving around, okay, we're back at school, now what? So if you have ideas of things you'd like to see in those breakout rooms, feel free to shoot me an email, and I would be happy to look at those ideas and put them together and gather some experts for addressing all of those topics.
All right. Well, so I know that we have most of the people on this call tonight are already CADA members, so welcome to all of our CADA members. If you are not a CADA member, something you should know is that after Labor Day, all these amazing events, all these wonderful things that are happening, they're actually going to go behind the membership wall. So it's going to be a member benefit after Labor Day. So if you want to continue to enjoy all of these amazing events that we're having, then just please visit cada1.org, or you can give us a call at 888-USE-CADA, and you can become a member and be part of the group. And this is an amazing organization with some amazing people. So very fortunate. Yes.
Sorry about that. We should probably mention that you may be thinking, oh no, what am I going to do? Because my area conference isn't going to be able to happen. I'm not going to be able to take my kids to get that training. CADA is planning to have an online virtual area conference where you can connect with people from your area, as well as some speakers, as well as workshops from presenters from across the state, but we'll have the local and the state connection involved in that. And more information will be coming out at the probably the middle to the end of August about what that's going to look like and how you can be a part of that. No field trip permission slips, no buses to worry about this year. We're going to come straight to you. We're also looking at doing some virtual leadership development days. So those of you who have had your leaders trained on site with a group of leaders specifically on personal leadership skills, you may want to contact our leadership development coordinator, Sandy Kurland, as to how you can bring that to your school as well. So we are continuing to grow and learn, and a lot of this is fueled by your energy and your ideas. So keep sending them to us and let us know what you need for your kids, because we truly want to serve you and help your kids to get that training so that they can lead us through this time of uncertainty and challenges.
All right, folks, thanks so much. If you haven't had a chance yet, throw some love in the chat for Danny, for Kim, for Phil. Thank you so much to our presenters for sharing this evening. And thank you all for coming. And oh yeah, this is what we do in my class. We do the sign language for applause. So if you want to turn your camera back on, definitely do the sign for applause. We love that too. Folks, thanks so much for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next Monday or at whatever next CADA event we run into each other at. So have a great evening. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Danny, it was funny. You're talking about you know, in the background, you know, show the reality of your background, and I'm realizing that I was experimenting with green screen, and I still have my PVC piping up here. So I love it. As you're talking about, like, you know what, just keep it real. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's just, you know, it's a reflection of where you are in life. This is where I am in life right now. Is my my PVC frame right here in my background.
Well, I love those pictures in the back. What, as you said, is that just a culmination of years of teaching?
Yeah, so this is the bulletin board that is normally in my classroom, and about three or 4 weeks in, I thought, you know what, this is not, because we were all at home, this is not bringing me any joy if it's stuck on the wall in my classroom. So I went on Amazon and I bought an easel, and I just took my cork board with all my photos and put it up behind me.
I think students need to make that vision board too, right? I think a vision board would be amazing. Everybody kind of like create that and then share it.
Yeah.
Because every time I look at it, I have my nephew on it. It just kind of gets me back into that good place.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. They could be on Padlets or whatever.
Yeah, and just kind of share it. Oh, that'd be, yeah, lots of stuff.
Yeah. Thanks, Danny.
Well, thank you,
really
Danny.
appreciate you being here.
You're welcome. Have a great night, everybody.
You too.
You too. I'm going to stop.